Hey folks, InvestIQ here with investing ideas, earnings, picks, and options plays, and we have got another banger for you. So this is TJX Companies Inc., ticker symbol TJX. So these guys are reporting on August 17th, 2022, and we've got some very good looking charts here. So let's dive in. The chart that you can see here on the screen is from 2013 all the way up to May of this year, 2022. And when you take a look at this chart, as a reminder, folks who aren't familiar with the Earnings IQ charts, they are essentially charts that depict what would have happened if you had played earnings for every quarter back from 2013 up until now. And that is three different lines there. That's playing earnings as in you bought the day before earnings at close and you sold the day after earnings at close. So that's the 1 day line. And the 3 day line would be you bought the day before earnings at close and sold 3 days at the close after earnings, and then of course 5 days after earnings. So that's what those three lines are, just as a quick reminder. And then those gains are stacked on top of each other. This is not compounded. This is basically just saying if you had $10,000, you traded it, what percentage gain did you make on the very first quarter? And then you basically say like, oh, I made 3%. And what about the next quarter? I made another 3%. So the second dot would have 6% in it. No compounding, no crazy stuff. It's just too easy to go nuts with that stuff. So these equity curves, they look not too bad. You can kind of get a feel for if you look at these and you sort of think to yourself like, well, which one is the sort of seems to overall have the best equity curve? It appears to be the 3 day one, but if we actually take a look at them each individually, so that's the 1 day, that's the 3 day, and that's the 5 day. And if you're looking for consistency, which I think you should be, you'd be looking at the 3 day chart there. That's kind of got the best R square on it, if I can get a little bit too technical on you. Let's take a look at the win rate. Win rate 65% after 1 day, 68% after 3 days, and 70% after 5 days. Real nice, real nice. We take a look at the gain loss. After 1 day is 1.33%, after 3 days is 1.68, and after 5 days is 1.52, an average of 1.51. So pretty decent overall stats. You can see there seems to be a little bit more gain in the 3 day versus the 5 day, but the 5 day has a higher win rate. If you look at the equity curves, the 3 day seems to kind of have done better in the beginning, and the 5 day seems to have done better recently. So perhaps you're looking at a strategy where you've got other catalysts, you're making a move and playing this stock, but you're going to hold it somewhere between the 3 and the 5 day. Depending on what ends up playing out. Let's take a quick look at the EPS data. So this is $70 billion stock. And if we look at the EPS, so we don't see a whole heck of a lot here in terms of something that catches our eye specifically, except for they were affected by COVID. And then things sort of seem to return to normal. Let's take a quick look at the volume on something like this. And there's a quick chart of the stock. And what do we got? 6.7 million shares. So really liquid stock. This is the kind of stock when you've got a chart that looks like this for earnings and you can say 70% of the time after 5 days you were up by an average of 1.52%. That's pretty good. That's pretty incredible. And, there's a whole bunch of different ways you can kind of view this stuff. I mean, folks had said to me, I've had requests for people asking for short picks, etc. And, how does this help me with short picks? And, you can also use these as sort of a this is not on the shit list stock. And basically, if you were looking at shorting TJX after earnings, or buying puts or something of the sort, you might look at a chart like this and sort of say, like, you know what? The numbers really just aren't on your side when you say there's 70% of the time after 5 days, there's a positive gain of how much? 1.52%. it really doesn't look favorable from the numbers, right? Unless you've got a very specific catalyst. But I actually like this for a 3 and a 5 day play. There's the two equity curves for the 3 and the 5 day. But I think when you see a good looking chart like this and you've got enough volume, I say you should be looking at options. So let's go take a quick gander over there. This is the option chain for TJX. So if we just quickly, was it August the 17th? Yeah, so August the 17th is when these guys are reporting. And we go over here and we take a look at, so we've got to be looking at least past the August the 17th date. So this is the August the 19th. So if you were trying to play the 1 days, this is what you would be looking at. Now, you folks who are not too familiar with the options chains, you can take a look at this, and because they're listing the on either side of the at the monies, then you can basically see currently the price is somewhere between the $65 and $66 range, right? And you can confirm that by going up here and clicking on, this is Nasdaq.com. If you click on the TJX, you can actually get the most recent price. So there's the most recent price where you sort of go like, oh yeah, it's in the 65.47, right? And of course, when we go back to the chart and take a look here, there you go, 65.47 is between the 65 and the 66. So these are charts that kind of give you an image of each of the expiries and the prices for each of the strikes at each of those expiries. And for those who aren't familiar with options, do some digging, do some searching, kind of get educated on this stuff. There's a lot of data, and I mean a lot. So for every expiry, you've got all these different strikes. It's even more so with things like index and equity options and ETF options like SPYs. But even with these guys, when you've got nice liquid stuff like this is a great play to look at this and sort of say like, hey, listen, it's a $2 call if you're trying to play the 1 days and you don't want to spend a lot of money or put a lot of money out. Folks who know options know that $2 means everything is times 100 shares, right? So it's basically, that is a $205 option. So for $205, you can take a long position in a $65 stock, and if it closes above the strike price at $65, you would make some money. Now, of course, you've got to factor in what the cost of your option is, etc. And I'm going to leave that for another video / some other folks and some other resources for other folks to take a look at and do some research on. We will do some stuff on options later on how to structure and all those things. But for now, we're just going to look at the prices and leave that to you guys to do on your own. So I would actually take a look, if you're looking at, like we said, the 3 days, we look at August the 26th. So you can kind of see here, August the 26th, gee whiz, there really isn't a whole lot of difference when you look at this, right? One more week out. They report on the 17th. And if we just quickly check the 17th is a Wednesday, and the 26th is the next week's Friday. So, you'd really kind of be looking at buying the 26th. If you're trying to play the 3 or the 5 day, you need to get the 26th, the August the 26th option. These are the weeklies. You could go and look at the monthlies as well. I'm just going to focus on these weeklies since there seems to be some pretty decent volume and open interest, relatively speaking anyways. But if you take a look at this at between the 65 and 66, you'd only be paying $1.58. So it's $158 to take a long position, and betting that it's going to be, it's whatever it was, 65.47. So 53 cents more is what it has to get to, plus the price of the option. So if you actually closed at enough to make up your option and then some, that's how you'd make a profit buying the 66 calls. There's a lot of complexity with options, folks, and I'm not going to get too deep into it here, but folks who are familiar with it will know there's a delta, and depending on how far in the money or out of the money or at the money you are, the price of the option will change at a different rate, instead of just what you might think, which would be linearly. So I would take a look at these. I think these are a great way to play this kind of stuff. If folks who are interested in this kind of a play, go and take a look at what the implied move is, the implied volatility, and you might find it's a 3, 5, 7, 10%. But that 10% means that it's going to move. Let's just say it's 10%, $6, right, which would put you at from a 65 to a 71 or a 66. to a 71 or a 72. So that really is a big jump, because essentially on expiry, if you end up getting it right, that's another $5 or $6, but you only paid $1.58, and you have the right to own it at the expiry at 66. So if you own it on the day that it expires and it's trading at $71, you actually make the difference, 66 to 71, which would be the $5. So $5 on $1.58, boy, that's hundreds of percent, right? So very interesting play. And like always, I mean, do your research, folks. This is one base set of numbers, and it gives you a really good backdrop to sort of say, like, hey, you know what? The numbers are on my side to do this. But I think you got to take in other things into account, such as the market environment. I know we've had a big run up late, and the recent market action might be indicating that we're going to take a break. How much of an effect does that have on, whether positive earnings and what the sentiment is going to be, and whether things are going to run up for this stock and others? And that's sort of questions that you've got to do your research and make a judgment call on. So, but that's pretty much it, folks. I'm bullish on this. I think this is a great play in the 3 to 5 day range, and yeah, and that's our call. So if you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell button so you can get notifications when we put new videos out, and yeah, like us, leave us your comments, subscribe, and that's pretty much it. If you have requests for specific stocks or other things, please do leave it in the comments. We read them all the time. Reach out to us. We love it. And as always, thanks for watching, folks.